The opinions expressed on the Nick and Joe Show are those of the participants alone and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its ownership, management, staff, or volunteers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Joe, he's Nick, and you are listening to the Nick and Joe Show. And I don't know what the date is, so I'm just going to skip that totally. And I'm over here, I'm doing the show tonight from home, which is our original Bunker A, Bunker Alpha. And Nick is in all places, of all places, he is now situated in our newest bunker, Bunker P. And of course, given, Nick's desire for all things, his affinity for all things aeronautical, which is kind of funny for an ex-Navy guy when you think about it, but that would be Bunker Papa.
That's what that would be.
Bunker Papa.
I feel like Bunker Papa, too, because I'm probably the oldest guy up here.
Are you really?
I think so. As far as the management on the field is concerned, most of the guys who work here are, especially what we call the ramp rats or the wannabes, guys who are out loading the airplanes, for a step or two above minimum wage. They're doing it to pay their dues so they can get the right to sit in the right-hand seat of the airplane. And because they're all pilots, they've all come through the commercial pilot training program at a college or whatever. And now's their chance to get multi-engine time and move on from there, perhaps, if they want to, onto larger carriers, WestJet and people like that. This is where all those pilots come from, or places like this. So if you're familiar with the show, Ice Pilots, it's very much like that without a lot of the drama. Like Ice Pilots was, a fascinating show. And a lot of the challenges that the people on the ramp faced are the same challenges these guys face. They just don't get into the drama. It's very much a team effort. Like everybody, regardless of rank or regardless of position, if there's work to be done, then they get out and do it. And I've seen the what we call the FBO, the forward base operator, the guy who's in charge of everything. He is 29, and Spencer knows exactly what he's doing. He's been doing it for, I think, 5 years now. And Marty is closer to my age. He's in his early 50s and has been doing this for 30 years. But everybody other than that are all in their 20s. Maybe there's one, the oldest rampy out there is a guy who's 37. And these guys work their tails off for that to get a chance at that seat. And boy, I'll tell you, it's fun to watch and it's fun to be part of because it's, really when you have a team effort like that, you have a bunch of people all working towards a common goal, get the freight safely from one place to another, and do it as efficiently as possible. And they don't waste any time. This isn't a union shop. These guys get out there and they work their tails off, whatever it takes. If it means, whatever you're hand bombing stuff off the back of an airplane onto some remote runway somewhere, then that's what you do. If it means you get a broom and you sweep out the airplane when it's over, that's what you do. And so it's a lot of work, a lot of hard work, and these kids are out there just chomping at the bit for their opportunity, and they know they're being watched, and to see who's going to be the next one is pretty much loosely based on seniority, but sometimes people, there's different character traits that pop out, and they might get overlooked this time around until they mature a little more. Because when you put a 25-year-old in the seat of a multi-million-dollar airplane, you want to make sure that he knows what he's doing. So it's been a lot of fun to be part of, that's for sure.
Is there a lot of traffic up there? I mean, how many flights would the airport handle on a per hour basis, let's say?
It's hard to say. Yes, it's a very busy. Pickle Lake's the hub of the north, and from there everything spreads out like fingers on a hand. And like we do all kinds of different places. There's another airline here that's owned by First Nations. There's about 7 bands that are involved in running it called Wasaya Air. They're more into passenger traffic than we are. We ship cargo and fuel. And if you counted it up over the run of an average day, you're looking at 20, 25 flights. We've had airplanes sometimes stacked up 3 deep, waiting to be loaded and fueled before they can go out again. So it can get really, really hectic. Surprised at the number of airplanes that are in the air up here. Like when I went for a flight today to a place called Round Lake, which is about 40 minutes northwest of Pickle Lake. So it's about, I'm going to say 120 air miles. And I'll tell you what, you can hear planes talking to each other all over the place. And you never see any. Very seldom do you actually ever see, unless you're near an airport and somebody's taking off or coming in for landing. You almost never see them, but you know they're there.
That's really interesting.
It is fascinating.
To be perfectly honest with you, Nick, until you started talking about moving up there, I had never actually heard of Pickle Lake, so it's quite interesting. But here's a very important question for you, Nick. Of all of the airplanes that that you yourself have serviced or have seen other people servicing, okay, of all of the flights, how many would you say were wind or solar powered?
Not one.
Okay, not a single one.
Now, let me take that back. I will say wind powered, absolutely, every single one of them, but not in the way you're suggesting.
Okay, so they make their own wind, is what you're saying.
That's right. That's right. That's what that funny little fan in the front is for.
And so they make their own wind.
That's right.
It's not really. I get it. It's just a joke. Okay, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a lot of stuff to cover because, swear to goodness, I mean, the world is going crazy. It is going bonkers, banana. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. If you have to have a sense of humor, because if you're not going to have a sense of humor, you're going to be cynical, upset, crying, distraught, distressed, whatever words you want to use to describe the situation. But before we get into that, I just want to clarify that we're not, because, since Nick is up in Pickle Lake right now, and we've had to make some administrative and some technical changes to the way we're broadcasting the show. So we're not actually doing live telephone calls at the moment. So if you're trying to get through, you're going to get a message saying, the Nick and Joe show is not online right now, but actually it is. It's just that the telephone is not operating right now, and we'll have that fixed up pretty soon. But as I said, it's just a couple of technical issues that we just have to sort out as we move forward. So, if you're listening to us on regular radio as opposed to online, that is going to be an issue. And it's going to be an issue if you're trying to get through to us using the link online for connecting through to our phone system. So don't do that, okay? Don't do that tonight. Having said that, you can, of course, if you're listening online, still participate in our very active chat room. All you have to do is click on the chat bubble in the player, and if you have never registered, you may have to register. If you're registered but haven't signed in, you may have to sign in. And of course, as always, that's just to ensure that you're a real flesh and blood human being, not a lurking liberal or a malevolent algorithm.
I thought you said working liberal. I didn't know they existed.
I was going to say a lurking. Well, no, liberals work hard also, too. It's not I know a lot of hard-working liberals.
All right, fair enough. They just might not be working for the same ends we are.
Well, it's funny you say that, Nick, because the truth is, for the average Joe on the street, they're just looking after their interests. They may consider themselves to be liberals. They may vote liberal. They may vote socialist. They may vote NDP. I don't know. They might vote Green Party. But in the end, they are interested in looking after, their families, making ends meet, paying their bills, paying their mortgage, and all that stuff. There's a lot more commonality than our differences, our partisanship in the political realm would otherwise indicate. But that's a subject for another. That's a topic for another time. Because what I really want to talk about, Nick, here is I can't believe that this is actually happening. But after everything that happened with the Afghanistan pullout, the Americans pulling out of Afghanistan, the way that they did it, not that they pulled out. Okay, I get it. They wanted to have they'd had enough. The government is saying it's enough. We don't want to be there anymore. We don't want to be spending a whole pile of money. We don't want to send our troops into harm's way in Afghanistan. That's it's a decision that they've made. It's their right to make that decision. Consequences or no consequences, that's their right. So I'm not arguing with the fact that they withdrew. I think that the way they withdrew, the way they handled it, was disastrous. And if that's not bad enough, of course, as you know, they left behind billions of dollars in military hardware. Now, the good news on that score is that most of today's military hardware, weapon systems, are pretty sophisticated, and not just sophisticated in their use, but they're sensitive and they require a lot of highly technical maintenance. So my guess is that the Afghan army, the Taliban, are not going to find it so easy to jump into the Black Hawk helicopters and use them very effectively. So I think that's a good thing, but still, you left all that hardware behind. So, disaster on top of disaster on top of disaster. But now apparently, the Biden administration, in its not infinite wisdom, has decided that they're going to allocate, I don't want to say hundreds of millions of dollars, although it may be in the final analysis, to the Afghan people. And, honestly, not just the Biden administration. I mean, yeah, they're guilty here of doing this, but the truth is, there are other countries and NGOs that are doing the same thing. And it makes you shake your head and think to yourself, okay, do you really think that this money is actually going to reach people? Like, people are supposed to help? Like, what do you think? If you want to transfer $1 billion or $500 million to the Afghan people, what are you going to do? You're going to fly over Kabul or over Kandahar or whatever and drop, I don't know, Afghan, I don't even know what the denominations they're using there are now.
They'll probably take U.S. dollars with no trouble at all.
Well, it's funny because I know places where that's a crime, unless you happen to be in government.
Yeah, that's right. They'll take it when it benefits them.
So I don't get it. I don't get the attitude. I don't. But more importantly, I don't get as a practical matter how they expect that they're going to be able to ensure that the money actually reaches, people, real flesh and blood human beings, instead of going into government coffers or funding, the bloated administration of an international aid group or whatever.
Okay, the name of the currency in Afghanistan is the Afghani, and it's worth 1.5 cents Canadian. So one Afghan dollar is worth
one Afghani is worth 1.5 cents Canadian.
Yes.
Okay.
And it'd be even worse if it was American. So your point though about how are they going to get it on to the people? And I have this image of you remember the old series about called WKRP in Cincinnati?
I do.
Okay, one episode was voted the funniest thing ever recorded on TV.
Hold on. Don't just wait. Whoa. Don't tell me. It's the turkey episode.
You got it. As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. And I have this mental image of them flying over in a Herc, lowering the ramp, and just kicking out skid after skid after skid of Afghani currency and watching it flutter from the heavens.